losers, and who that we have generally been told to support. And that illusion is that we live in a democracy. Julian is in great danger now. We cannot stand back and let him happen. It's going to get worse and worse for us, the citizens of this country. Thank you. Stella Morris, Julian's partner and mother of his two youngest children, says Julian is a once-in-a-generation thought leader. I don't just say that because I love him. Millions in the US and around the world know it too. His prosecution is bad for everyone because the world desperately needs him during this crisis of freedom and democracy.
Hands up if you know about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Yes. Well, that's why we're here. We humans have we believe, some inalienable rights. We just cannot let public officials, it goes back to hundreds of years of our British culture and our human culture. We just can't let people come around and throw us into prison and say, you know, we're going to throw you there and lock you up and throw away the key for no good reason. We are habeas corpus, you know, it's a Magna Carta. It's a right. But sadly, that's been selectively applied. We have human rights for some people, but not for others. When people like Julian Assange come out and say, really, we need to make this world a better place, we need accountability of public officials and we need accountability of the people, and we need to be able to discuss these things. If you can't speak freely, you are not in a democracy. You can't make progress. And there's a lot of people want to silence debate and want to control the narrative and misinform people, and they can make a lot of money out of it because there's a lot of stupid people in this world believe whatever they're told in the media. And when people like Julian Assange come out and say, well, hang on, no, this is the evidence, what you've been told was not true, we need to say, well, enough of this, we need a better agenda. So that's why we're here. Any of you know about the Nuremberg Code? Yeah. Any of you know about Magna Carta? That's why we're here. We're here because the individual has to have some semblance of sensible rights vis-a-vis authority. And authority has to be accountable to the individual, to the individuals. That's the idea of democracy. So that's why we're here. We're here because we believe in human rights and democracy, and we believe Julian Assange has been mistreated and he's had his basic rights abused, taken away, and he's been put in prison with no proof of any wrongdoing.
Woe to the Crown in London town. What prisoners have you now? Not Rudolph Hess, not Jacob Spy, not adulterers' wives who lie. It's truth that's hung on Julian's tongue. You'll find he dared to magnify. No joke when you place that yoke for revealing crimes he has done for time.
Hello. How are you doing? I have my Julian Assange t-shirt on. Well, there you go.
Maximum security, solitary confinement cell for the rest of his life, or 175 years, whichever comes first. The conclusions will be here, and the mainstream media will probably tell us. But if he wins, they won't tell us. Anyway, time will tell. And we'll know at 9:15 tonight whether the next because if Julian Assange is extradited to America, on espionage charges. No journalist in the world will ever stand up against crimes perpetrated by the American government. And we will no longer have a government that serves the people. We will know that it serves the corporatocracy, and in this case, the military-industrial complex. Thank you. Making truth expand, we are all Assange. Here to save his life, here to end the strife. We distrust the plan, we are all Assange. Knowledge, fact, with proof. Facts are in demand, we are all Assange.
Information on Julian Assange. At 10:15 a.m. UK time at the Royal Courts of Justice in London. We are living in strange times. There's been an unprecedented transfer of wealth to the millionaires and billionaires, while others have watched their businesses fold or their jobs disappear. Let's hope we have some good news on the Julian Assange front, and Julian is set free. We can certainly do with some good news. Julian Assange has paid a heavy price for exposing war crimes and corruption. I'm grateful that there are people like Julian and David McBride who are willing to put their lives on the line for truth and freedom. We have no democracy without truth and accountability of the powerful. Julian is being persecuted because he was given information by whistleblowers, and he and other news organisations published it. That is what journalists do. That is their job. WikiLeaks published the collateral murder video that shows the heartless treatment of civilian victims by the Apache helicopter crew. They were fired on indiscriminately. "Look at those dead bastards," one of the crew said, while another one says, "Nice," after they fire upon civilians. A van with Good Samaritans, a man taking his little children to school, came upon the carnage. They stopped to assist. They too were fired upon. A US Army soldier, Ethan McCord, came to the injured and dead on the ground within minutes. He said, "I've never seen anybody being shot by a 30mm round before. It didn't seem real, in the sense that it didn't look like human beings. They were destroyed." In the van, McCord found badly injured 10-year-old Sajjad Mustafa and his 5-year-old sister, Daha. Their father, Salih, was dead. Sajjad also has since died in a bombing. In the video, someone saw that there were children in the van. Well, it's their fault for bringing kids into a battle, he says without pity or shame. McCord, who was desperate to aid the children, was later told to get the sand out of his lady parts. People do not get back from this experience whole. People like McCord who have had these encounters are never the same again. The media and government leaders have told appalling lies about Julian to dehumanise him and diminish his character in the eyes of the public. It was reported that Hillary Clinton had asked, "Can't we just drone this guy?" A callous and inhuman way to speak about a journalist. Mike Pompeo, who served under President Donald Trump as director of the CIA, and the US Secretary of State, called WikiLeaks and Assange a hostile intelligence agent. This made more sense when we learned that the CIA had planned to kidnap and assassinate him. This wording gave them the power to do just that in their minds. In an interview, Pompeo stated that the CIA lies, cheats and steals, and then he giggled like a schoolboy bully. The fish rots from the head down, and the head in this instance is rotten to the core. The current Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, just tweeted there were 350 journalists currently imprisoned for doing their work. We must be relentless in shining a spotlight on attacks on journalists, demand accountability and work to return the unjustly detained. He received a resounding response, calling out his hypocrisy. Assange is imprisoned in the UK at the behest of the US for doing his job as a journalist. Zapata said, "It's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees." Well, you're a long time dead. Make the most of your life while you are here. Stand up and live on your feet, like the old man in Catch-22 said. Do something positive. Call your local MP, call Maurice Payne's office, call for the release of Julian Assange, call for the charges to be dropped. Free inmate, our mate, Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange.
Free,
Julian Assange.
free, Julian Assange. Thank you.
Mate,
Our mate.
Julian Assange. Our mate.
Like to read about him? Journalism's not a crime.
I'll take it. Thank you.
Sign the online petitions, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The founding fathers of America, some great, really wonderful men who drafted the American Constitution, which is full of things to protect the people from despotic military governments and corruption of governments. And I think it was John Adams, who was one of the writers of the American Constitution, said this is to protect people from the government. And he said so that we can have a democracy. He said, but if we can keep it, well, it looks like we're not keeping it too well. The only way for us to keep it is for the people to hold the politicians accountable for lies and for crimes when it's justified. And this is a classic example of when it's justified. I don't think anyone would disagree today that we were lied into the Iraq War. And there's a member of the Australian Party Parliament called Andrew Wilkie, who was an intelligence analyst, who made it very clear prior to the invasion of Iraq that the intelligence the government was using was false. It's hard to believe that the government of the day wasn't fully aware that the intelligence that they were proclaiming was the reason for us taking action in Iraq was a lie. So, and now we see so much damage and destruction and so many people killed, and the question is, was it necessary? I posit it wasn't necessary at all. It only made things worse, as all violence does. So anyway, very nice to be here in this beautiful city. We're about to end the lockdown and we're all free, but how can anybody be happy or free while they can see injustice and not do anything about it. I think it's incumbent on all of us to stand up against injustice, even if it's just someone attacking someone here in the street. It's what makes us human, to try and help each other and protect each other. And we're here to try and help Julian Assange get out of a terrible predicament which is entirely political.
Well, maybe he's doing his best to fight back the communist system.
Julian Assange.
Tonight, folks, the two British judges are going to hand down a judgment at 9:30 tonight, and we'll see if an Australian citizen can get some justice in Britain. With any luck, the lawyers and the judges and the entire legal fraternity will realise this is a terrible, terrible disgrace for the legal community, and it discredits the entire legal system and every lawyer in the Western world. They don't stand up for justice. There's not a lawyer in Britain or Australia is going to stand up for justice. And if the judges are just going to kowtow to the politicians, we don't have justice. We've got puppets. We've got a legal system that's completely lost its credibility.
Sure, mate. Yeah. Julian Assange, journalism's not a crime. Julian Assange. Okay, mate.
At 9:15 tonight, we will find out the fate of Julian Assange. Welcome to the 107th Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering. The imprisonment and torture of Julian Assange for no good reason, along with the smearing and lack of support from the mainstream media, indicates just what we are all up against. Julian has now been arbitrarily detained in the UK for just over 11 years. According to many doctors and health professionals, the torturous conditions, including solitary confinement for 2.5 years, has meant that Julian has sustained horrendous and serious health effects. The ruling of whether Julian can be extradited to the US to face espionage charges over publishing US human rights abuses is scheduled to be handed down today in the UK at 9:15 p.m. our time. We live in hope that there is some justice left in the UK justice system. Julian's fiancée Stella Morris said this morning, quote, "If there is any justice to be found in the justice system, it will free Julian sooner or later. That it will be possible to find any justice in the same justice system that has repeatedly failed Julian for 11 years will be truly remarkable. It is absolutely clear he should never have been detained in the first place. This man is completely innocent. Prominent war criminals and torturers of the 21st century remain free and are treated as heroes by governments and much of the mainstream media, while Julian and others who have truthfully informed the people are demonized, imprisoned, and tortured. We are justified in blaming the corruption of our political and justice systems, along with our media, but unless we, the ordinary people, take on the responsibility of being awake and prepared to show we are awake, our situation will only become worse. Democracy allows everyone to have their say. Free speech and freedom of choice are fundamental to democracy. We cannot expect to live in a free and open society if we cannot access and communicate the truth. To be awake, we must all be free to make ourselves aware of the truth and question everything we are told. People who are awake will realise that it is important for us all to be able to exert pressure on governments that fail to work in our best interests. One useful tool of democracy is non-compliance with propaganda narratives. We need people to be able to express opinions that diverge from the mainstream narrative. During this century, public discussion has moved to the internet and onto social media platforms. Although this move has given us the ability to access diverse information, large corporations have first-hand knowledge of what each of us believes and are able to arbitrarily stifle free speech through algorithmic enforcement of echo chambers and various forms of censorship. On social media platforms, outspoken individuals are often forced to self-censor, and it is commonplace for popular social media accounts to be suspended for vaguely understood reasons. It is therefore important for us to rediscover the importance of free speech while we are offline. A healthy community must be able to accommodate a diverse range of views. The better we are at allowing others with different views to express themselves, the closer we come to understanding the truth. And the closer we can be to understanding the truth, the closer we will be to achieving the unity we need to hold rogue governments to account. We cannot say we are awake if we allow governments to hold truthful journalists as political prisoners for 11 years. Julian Assange is a journalist who is famous for exposing the crimes of governments so that decent people can be truthfully informed and able to work to stop future crimes. Julian says if wars are started with lies, peace can be started with the truth. Julian Assange deserves every single decent person's support, despite all the distractions from our politicians and the mass media. It is imperative that we are all awake. Julian must be free, and so must we. Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Inmate!
Our mate!
Julian Assange! Only one decision!
No extradition!
There is only one decision!
No extradition!
Thank you.
They let him out
I reckon next week we should celebrate. Because lockdowns are over on Wednesday.
They'll just appeal the decision, won't they?
Well, we don't
Yeah, but
know.
whether they keep him on remand,
They could
that's the
let him
question.
out, but I don't.
I don't think they'll keep him on remand. They can't.
I don't. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be.
The problem is being on remand.
I think there'll be some kind of other thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you watch.
I think
We went through
I
this-
think what John Shipton said is probably true. They want him dead.
I'm crazy about
Lucky!
Oh, Lockie! Here he is!
G'day.
Yeah.
So I saw just 5 minutes ago on Twitter someone was standing at the front of the queue already in London to save the spot for Craig Murray, who's coming down from
good. Isn't that
Scotland.
Oh,
excellent?
good.
That's
Oh.
wonderful.
yeah. So yeah, what is it? The International Day of Human Rights or something today, I think.
Is it? Okay.
My name's Lockie, and I'm an investigator by trade. Every day I endeavour to uncover the truth. The first thing you learn when you're selling the truth for a living is that it's in low demand, but as you might imagine, it's also in low supply. Anyone who's studied bad guys for years will tell you that deception is a pattern of behaviour. If a person is lying about one thing, you can be guaranteed that he or she is lying about others as well. We use the term gaslighting these days. It means to continually lie with the purpose of manipulating perceptions of the victim. This technique is used by unpleasant people in domestic, work and other relationships to get what they want, at the expense of their victims. We condemn gaslighting when it's done by a husband or a wife, a boss or someone else, because we know it has a negative effect on the mental health of the victim and may result in something like physical harm. But what do we do when powerful political figures, corporations and governments lie to us over and over again? Do we willingly subject ourselves to a national psychosis and allow the powerful to physically harm the vulnerable people? Those of us with a conscience stand up and call out the lies. Julian Assange said that every time we witness an injustice and do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence, and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves and those we love. Julian is in good company because one of the fathers of Western philosophy, Plato, expressed a similar view when he said that the price of apathy towards public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. We all know that there's been no shortage of evil rulers over the last century, and there stand to be many more in the 21st century if each of us fail to perform our civic duty. Evil is primarily manifested today in unjust wars which result in the unnecessary death of thousands or millions. But fortunately, for perhaps the first time in history, we have the antidote to apathy and to evil. The internet has given us all a voice, but just as importantly, it's given all who choose to listen an ear. Our duty begins by learning the truth so that we may educate others, and there's been no greater publisher of verifiable fact in recent history than Julian Assange. Through the WikiLeaks site, Assange has published copies of original documents revealing governmental complicity in war crimes, corruption, torture, environmental degradation and base depravity, and this has been done with a record of 100% accuracy. For his efforts, Assange has been imprisoned on political charges to stop him from holding the powerful to account. To those unfamiliar with his work, you have a difficult but important journey of discovery ahead if you are to fulfill the entreaties of ancient philosophers and help protect our society from evil by learning the truth. If you don't stand up, who will? If you don't act in the face of an injustice, how can you rely on someone else to do so? If you give in to apathy, one day you or someone you love may be the victim. I'll now read you the full Assange quote I mentioned earlier. Every time we witness an injustice and do not act, we train our character to be passive in its presence, and thereby eventually lose all ability to defend ourselves and those we love. In a modern economy, it is impossible to seal oneself off from injustice. Thank you.